Hey everyone, thanks for joining in. Wonderful to see you, folks. Wonderful to have you, everyone. Um, my name is Vignesh. I head the global marketing at fielddrive. We are on-site event tech company. We have been doing this talk sessions for the event tech folks from last year. This is around 16th episode that we have been doing. This is uh, specifically for all the event tech folks across the industry to pick topics and to share knowledges and best practices. Today we have one of the industry folks. He should be known by everyone. He runs one of the largest global event tech events and conferences, Adam Parry, a close friend and an industry stalwart. He's been running Event Tech Live for quite some time, and he's been known from a lot of Event Tech books across the globe. Have you, Adam?
I'm very well, Vignesh. Thank you very much for having me on finally. Feels like a long time coming.
Got it. Adam, today I think there's a lot of discussions going around about AI in every industry, right? So from your vantage point, I just wanted to understand how's the AI being used in the event tech industry? What is your predictions? How do you think is shaping up the industry right now?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, that's a big question, right? I think as individuals, as companies, aside from the events industry, especially for me personally anyway, AI has already had such a big impact in how I go about my daily life. I think genuinely from an events industry perspective, there's kind of three areas I think it's having the biggest impact. I think first and foremost, that's in the pre-event planning, the designing of the event, the designing of the agenda, the schedule, the operational elements and things like that. When we get to the event, there is the on-site attendee engagement, matchmaking, networking, AI summaries, all of those things. And then there's post-event as well, which is the analysis and the understanding of the data so that as event organizers and planners, we can then make data-led decisions about how we might evolve the event after the show. So there's layers to it. And then I guess just finally, as us as the events industry and as staff members of event businesses and technology companies, there's then the AI that we use on a daily basis to maybe even figure out what we're having for lunch or something like that. So help us decide.
Got it. Also, there's a lot of signal versus the noise right now, right? I just want to understand where exactly it's being used. Whether is it in the planning, or whether is it in the pre-event, or during the event, post-event? Because we were in a demo last week, right? An AI industry-wide demo. I see a lot of use cases on content production, content distribution. How do you work on data and something? But there's a very less of workflows, how exactly people use it in on-site and vice versa, right? So
Yeah.
what is your take on that?
Yeah, I think, listen, that the hype at the moment, and this is the same for any new technology or anything that comes into being popular, is the overuse of it, right? So the overpromise of it. I think, unfortunately, it's interesting and it's being leveraged at the moment from a marketing perspective. So companies are using AI, AI-enabled, AI-powered to try and showcase that they're forward-thinking, their platform's innovative, it's modern, it's exciting, and things like that. But unfortunately, I think some of that is overpromised and isn't actually going to end up delivering on what the attendee expects or what the planner expects, right? And I think that's the biggest challenge when it comes to being an event organizer, trying to decide what platforms and what technology you go with. You know, not everybody has a CTO or a team of people to be able to really dig deep into what the capabilities of that AI technology can do. And I think one of the other areas that is there's not so much noise around, but concern around is, well, if there is AI technology being used within this technology that I'm using for my event or my platform and it has access to data, where is that data going? Is that data being used to train models? How secure is it, and things like that? I speak to a number of kind of like, especially enterprise and corporate clients, and the additional kind of red tape and processes that technology needs to go through if it has an AI capability to be used at an event is quite substantial. It can sometimes even double the actual time that it goes into. But that being said, AI does have value, right? You know, especially for us as event organizers. I'll give you an example, Vignesh, of something I've done over the past week. Is that I've created 2 emails to go to my database over the next couple of weeks by pulling resources and information together. And then Claude has helped me put that together quite quickly and quite efficiently in a space and a place that I can put that out. And, you know, that saved me probably not hours in time, but days in waiting for a designer to come back to me with iterations and things like that. So I think the signal is definitely the agility and the efficiency that probably event planners are already feeling about getting things done on a day-to-day basis.
Got it. Do you also see this happen? Because when a lot of event tech folks, be it corporates, they work with agencies. Corporates have a higher adoption rate of AI in workflows, ranging from pre-event to post-event. Are they pushing the agencies and also the point solution firms to adopt AI?
I think so, yes, right? Because, you know, when we look at the events industry, it's a high pressure, high intensity field. There are removable deadlines, right? You cannot push an event back. It has to happen. Just like this webinar, this live webinar, it had to happen at the time that it was scheduled for, right? And I think everybody can clearly see the potential in adopting AI technologies and the value of that, not just for operationally planning, delivering the event, but also for the attendee experience, right? Attendees are short on time. They need efficiency around answers to questions, getting the right information so they can decide if they want to attend the event, what the value is at the event, who are the right people to attend, and things like that. And that also lowers the amount of inbound emails and customer support and things like that, right? So, yeah, I think there's a lot of value there. And I think organizers and corporates are pushing the technology providers to integrate AI so they can have that efficiency and that agility around their event.
Got it. Do you plan to have separate AI sessions this time at ETL?
Actually, yeah, we do. So at Event Tech Live, we've got four stages. We've got the main stage, which is where the big discussions happen, the big panels and things like that, and no doubt AI will play a role in that. But we have a dedicated AI and innovation stage this year. So we're going to program 2 days of content just around AI and innovation and how people are using AI, both from an operations perspective, from a marketing perspective, and things like that. And then we have a marketing and marketing technology stage, and then an experiential and engagement stage as well.
Got it. Can you give me an example of what are the tools that you're using, whether it's Claude or ChatGPT, and how you've been using Claude to put a plan for ETL for ETL basically?
Yeah, absolutely. Claude is my favorite tool. I used to be a ChatGPT fanboy, but I've used that one less now. Claude for me is extremely good. The way that I've set it up as a business is I have business projects, so business and finance and things like that. But then I have a dedicated one per event as well. So Claude understands all aspects of the event, the timings, the dates, what we're trying to achieve. And we've created these documents, right, in terms of, not just about the event, but in terms of our guidelines, our ethos, and what we're trying to achieve with the event, so that Claude understands that and stays true to that. And I think one of the biggest benefits that I've seen, and this is something that I think we're going to see lots of when it comes to event technology as well, is Claude's fantastic. It's got a number of MCP connections, so that's Model Context Protocol connections. So my Claude system can talk to our marketing platform, it can talk to our call recorders, it can talk to our CRM, it can talk to our database and all those kinds of things. And again, that's creating efficiency, because rather than having to jump into a platform over here and update something over there, I can just work within Claude and it can pull all of that together. It helps me create content, it helps me create proposals, it helps me create invoices. Actually, I would advise anybody, the more time you invest in learning and discovering and testing, the more valuable these platforms become.
Of course, I think Claude, everyone's talking about how the constitutional kind of like helps them on this one. Of course, yes. And an interesting question that I wanted to ask you is, there are a couple of things that everyone in the event industry is very much interested in right now after the usage of AI, which is the predict and the ROI model. The predict is, every event industry folks want to understand when they plan for the next event, can I look at my previous couple of years or 3 years attendee data? Can I create a predictive model saying, these are the folks that might attend this year as well, right? With the lead scoring stuff. And the second one is the ROI part, which is for a lot of event folks who are at the end user, how do I define the ROI back to my management or to my company? I think these are the two use cases a lot of people are interested in. What is your take on this?
Yeah, sure. So on your first question about looking back at historical data and creating a predictive model, the answer to that is absolutely yeah. These platforms love data. They love to see, they can see patterns, they can identify risk areas and things like that. And we did this with Event Tech Live 2025, right? We collected all of our event data together, and it created an amazing report for us internally in terms of like, this worked really well, this didn't work so well, this was where there was mismatches and things like that. But then it actually allowed us, which will come on to your second point, to create a report also for exhibitors and sponsors so they could understand the value of the event. Now, the one caveat to that I would say is that you have to be careful with past event data. If you want to make a change, if you create a predictive model just off of that data and don't instruct it in terms of what you want to change, then you will just repeat the same patterns, right? Because the predictive model will use what's happened in the past to predict what's happened in the future. So you need to tell it or discuss with it or be engaged with it in order what you want to enact change and things like that. Now, one of the best things about using that data is that you can use live data as part of that as well, right? So as you start to do polls like the one that we've got on the screen now, as you produce content, as you do calls with attendees and exhibitors and things like that, you can start to feed all of that context into the event platform or into Claude live, so you can iterate really quickly in the lead up to the event. You don't have to set the stall out 6 months out from the show and not change that. You can actually use it to impact change and make decision making to get a better result as you are planning and organizing the event before delivery. One of the ways that we're going to go about that this year in the lead up to Event Tech Live is we hope to actually use AI to call as many attendees as we can in the lead up to the show to make sure that we really, really thoroughly understand what they want to achieve out of the event. And we're going to do the same with exhibitors and sponsors. And the reason we're doing that is because registration data alone is not the most solid data, right? People want to register quickly for the event. What they register and say they're going to want to do in September might be very, very different to November. So the best way to get that context is to actually have a conversation, and AI allows us to do that at scale with exhibitors and with attendees, create better matches, give them better information, better recommendations and things like that. And then again, we're going to use AI post-event to demonstrate, to quantify that value and that ROI for the exhibitors. And I think any event planner and event marketer can do that, right, in a really effective way. And actually, they can do it super quick now. So where it might have taken them weeks or months to collate that information and pull those resources together and create those reports, now AI tools, and I see a number of platforms out there like Marcus AI and others that can generate those reports for those marketers and for those event planners, that they can, in plain English and plain language, tell their CFO what it meant for the financials, tell their RevOps person what it meant for revenue and things like that. So yeah, I think those are actually some of the most exciting areas that we're going to be able to see AI really support the events industry.
Got it. I've got a very interesting question from one of our attendees. At the event flow level, how do you envision teams and attendees actually interacting with AI tools? What use cases are becoming practical and widely adopted?
So this is on the show floor. This is actually at the event. Is that right, Vignesh? Yeah. Okay. So I think we've already seen some of these, and while it might not be blatantly obvious to be AI, these are AI powered, right? So we've seen the ability now to, and for a while, to translate the spoken language of a speaker into multiple languages, right? We've seen that through a number of companies for a while now. And I think that's a great thing because it makes it so accessible for international visitors to come to an event and actually understand the content in their native language and things like that. I think we'll see that start to flow onto the show floor in the future. You know, Apple and Samsung and others are creating devices which now do live translation. So again, that language barrier is not going to be really a thing when it comes to the actual show floor experience. And that means more business and more networking and more trade is going to be done by international visitors, where language might have been a barrier or a challenge in the past as well. I think we're also seeing, you know, and have done for a number of years now, the rise of solutions that actually record that information, record that session and package it up in a really nice way in an AI summary for attendees, so they have clear, concise context and takeaways from the speaker sessions. That helps them to retain that in their memory and keep it on file. And it also enables them to really share that with other attendees and or other people in their organizations in a really effective way without having to worry about, you know, 3 or 4 days later, traveling back, trying to make notes, trying to write up a report and things like that, right? So I think those are a couple of things that we've seen really instantly. And I think one of the biggest things that we're going to see is attendees using their LLMs to talk to organizer LLMs to understand what day should I come, how long should I stay, what's the path through the event that I should take, what are the exhibitors I should speak to, what sessions should I stop by, and things like that. Because it's really hard, even though event websites are, you know, still the first port of call, it's really hard to explain, even through a website, to all of these different types of attendees and all of these different profiles, each individual value proposition, right, to each and every single person. Vignesh, you might go to an event to just watch content. I might go to an event just to do networking, and somebody else might be there just because they're looking for another job, right? So I think that's also a way that we're going to see that on the show floor, that people are going to have their predetermined schedule done already by their AI talking to the organizer's AI.
Got it. All right. Perfect. And the final question is, where do you see the adoption of AI in the event tech industry in the next 2 to 3 years?
I mean, I think it's going to be the defining topic and point of conversation for probably the next decade, right? And I'm looking at that from the perspective that, you know, events are cyclical. They run annually, right? So Event Tech Live happens every year, once a year. So actually, we're at a slight disadvantage as events that if we're only organising one event, we've only got so many times we can iterate through the year and test things and change things for the event. But if you look outside at the wider world, you know, the difference in ChatGPT, Claude, Google Gemini just 12 months ago, they're worlds and worlds apart. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens over the next 3 years, 2 years, 18 months even. I think the AI that we have access to ourselves now will look massively different by the time we get to Event Tech Live, even in 6 months away or something. So, there are going to be a lot of newer companies, I think, launch into the industry. I think there are going to be a lot of established companies integrate AI, leverage AI, and deploy tools and technology and features for their current customers. I think there are going to be companies that retool from the ground up and totally rebuild their platform to be AI native from the ground up. In fact, I'm talking to a couple of companies that have already done that and are doing that as well. And then I think we're also going to see I think the term AI native is something that's going to become a big descriptor in the events industry. The AI native agency, the AI native organizer, maybe even the AI native trade show organizer, utilizing AI from the ground up as a founding principle, using data, making data-led decisions from the ground up, and not going off gut. And I think those things are coming, and I don't think it'll be very long before they're here.
Got it. Pretty useful, yes. And even I think for the pace of the features and the products that is getting released, we can't even predict what's going to happen next week. But yeah, no. It's going to be very exciting, and it's going to be a very exciting industry. I'll wait I'll open up for the questions. If any of you have any of the questions, please do let us know. Yeah, I think there was let's give like another couple of minutes. All right, Adam, I have one question. Yeah, the one question that I had is, do you think the event application development, right, with AI, is it is making it easier for sure? Is it, can you make a good use of it? Can you create a very good application using AI, which is with user experience and filling in a lot of information? Right now, there's a lot of networking and matchmaking options as well. How good is AI with those kind of features?
I think AI, interestingly, possibly has quite a positive impact on, first and foremost, app adoption. Okay, so when we think about event apps, they're predominantly being a container for information at the show, around the event, the agenda, the attendees, the exhibitors, the sponsors, things like that, directions, navigation, wayfinding, mapping, those kinds of things. I think as people adopt people weren't necessarily adopting apps for events on scale, but people are adopting AI at scale. They understand the value of it. Our not challenge, but our job in the events industry as event technology suppliers is to now utilize AI in a way that it makes that event app even more valuable. And one of the ways that I think that looks like is it's not necessarily providing people with a traditional kind of look and feel of event app in terms of how it looks. It's actually more contextual. It's going, what is it that you want to do today? What is it that you want to achieve? And actually having a conversation more on that side than just having boxes and menus and things like that for people to click on and point at. And I think the way that those event apps evolve and continue is they become finally those communications and those conversations channels after the event as well, right? Because we meet all these great people at these great events, we're part of these great communities, but then we have to go to LinkedIn or WhatsApp or these other places, and we kind of go, it kind of moves along, right? So I think AI will actually allow us as attendees to keep connected with those communities and with those events and with those thought leaders throughout the year. So maybe event apps even have a revival and come back to be the number one top thing that people look for when they're organizing an event from a technology perspective.
Got it. There's another interesting question. You talked about message and calls with AI as an event reminder. How does that work?
Sure. So there are a number of platforms out there that you can do this, but there are some event-specific organizations and companies and things like that. First and foremost, what you have to do is you have to obviously collect that data from those attendees. You have to, here in the UK, you have to do it in a really transparent and understanding way, right? Because you can't just harvest people's telephone numbers and try and enrich them and reach out to them. You have to have permission. So the way that we do that is we ask for their number within registration flow, and we explain to them why and how we will use it and that it won't be abused and things like that. And the value proposition is that we will help you have a better event experience, right? So then in the lead up to the event, then our chosen AI platform will have predefined questions that we want to understand from that attendee. But it'll do that in a very natural way, right? If a question doesn't naturally follow the next question, then the system won't ask it. We'll then take that data and that information and that call recordings, and then we'll use that within Alia, which is our chosen AI platform for Event Tech Live, to then enrich that person's profile and then use that to match it with match those attendees with the right sessions, with the right exhibitors, with other attendees and things like that, based on what they've told us. But the context window in which we'll do that will be those final few weeks in the lead up to the show, right? So those recommendations, those connections are as enriched as they possibly can be based on the time horizon out from the event, when people are really starting to think about what they want to achieve from that event as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Adam. Thanks a lot for doing this. Thanks again. It was a wonderful session. Great real-time use cases. It is always nice to hear from industry folks who are on the ground to understand this rather than just hype and everything. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone. See you in the next season.